Hey guys, how are you? Hope you're okay wherever you're watching from. This is my second video and I would like to answer, I think, the most frequently asked question, the most spending question, which is how did I react when I first knew that I had cancer. So I'll take you a bit back to my background, up to where I knew that I had cancer. So I'm a Zimbabwean by nationality, and I'm based in South Africa right now in Durban. I'm a holder of BSc degree in biotechnology. I graduated in 2018. I think most graduates can relate to this. When I graduated, I had so many dreams. I had so many goals, to say when I graduate, I'm going to look for a job, start working and start doing things on my own. That Miss Independent mentality, which is not bad because you will all be looking forward to it. So when I graduated, I started looking for a job. And I was like, at first I was looking for a job in my own field and say, I can't just learn for nothing. I deserve a good paying job. Up until a point where I was like, okay, I just need to get any job. Business ideas now start to pop in. Let me do this, let me do that. So that you just keep your mind busy. Staying at home, trust me, it was so boring. So anyway, that's when an idea just popped up. And I was like, okay, let me go and look for greener pastures. That's when I relocated and came here in South Africa. I've got some cousins who stays here, they work on me, and everything was okay. Then they started helping me looking for a job. I stayed 3 months down the line. I got a job. I was working as a lecturer at a private college. Things were okay, things were fine, things were flourishing. I started staying alone, started buying things that I wanted myself. Eating lunch that I want at that moment that I just feel like eating today, this and that. I just feel like buying this thing. But unfortunately, that was just short-lived. I got a job in May, and around November 2019, I started being sick. I was just feeling weak. And headaches, and my lymph nodes started swelling. It's normal, everyone has got lymph nodes, but it becomes a problem now when they start swelling. So I actually went to a general practitioner, a private doctor here, and then he said it might be an infection that you have. So he gave me some antibiotics and some painkillers. I took the course, and then for sure the pain subsided, but the nodes, they didn't. They were still swollen. Then I went back, I was Googling now to say what might it be, and then I came across this thing that it might be cancer. I went back to him. I asked him when I went for a checkup, couldn't this thing be cancer? And then he said no, if it was cancer, blah blah blah, it could be this and that. So and from my own side, I was also convincing myself that no, it's not cancer. So I had to believe what the doctor said. That was then. It was okay. And then December, that's when I got pregnant with my daughter. So when you get pregnant, your system becomes weaker. It cannot fight a lot of things for itself. And that's when those lymph nodes, they started expressing themselves more than how they were. So this type of cancer that I have is called non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. It's a cancer which happens when your white cells when your body starts to develop abnormal white cells, and when your lymphatic system is now weaker for it to fight different infectious diseases on its own. So now imagine my body is already weaker because I'm pregnant, and I'm going through this non-Hodgkin's lymphoma without my knowledge. So the symptoms that you get when you've got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma were just more or less the same when you are pregnant. I was weak, swelling of my legs, swelling of my face, breathing problems and all. So there was a point when I was going to my checkups at the hospital for the pregnancy. I told the doctor what I was feeling, and then he said, okay, let's set an appointment so that we do a biopsy and take out one of the lymph nodes here, so that we can go and test to see if it's cancerous or not. So the day came, and then I went for the surgery. They actually removed, I think this is the mark here, they removed the lymph node. It was tested, and they said nothing was found on it. And I was like, okay. So I just comforted myself and said, after I give birth, maybe weeks after or a month later, I'll be okay, you know. But unfortunately, when I gave birth in August, 2 weeks later, that's when I was even sick more. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk properly. I was very weak. Whenever I tried to talk, I would cough and start vomiting. So I gave birth to my baby. She was 2.7 kg. Imagine that, 2 kg of sugar. Just ate a little bit of 700 grams on top. I couldn't hold her. Whenever I wanted to breastfeed her, I would put pillows so that we can be on the same level and breastfeed her. I couldn't hold her. I couldn't bath her. I got help from different people, and shout out to you all. Thank you very much for being there for me when I couldn't even be there for my daughter. So yeah, that's what happened. Then I went to the hospital. They started doing some tests on me, a lot of tests. So I had also water around my chest, and the doctor was so convinced that it was TB. So they tested for TB, TB was negative. They tested for other diseases, it was negative. And then the doctor was like, well, the worst case scenario could be non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. And then I'm like, what type of cancer is that? I didn't even know that such cancer exists. And again, I convinced myself, and I was like, no, it's not cancer. So I did a CT scan, and they did another biopsy and removed another lump, which was here. And then it went for the test. That's when, you know, the results came. And then the doctor said, you have got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. So when I was told, at first I was relieved. I remember I was with my cousin when we went to the hospital. She was actually pushing me in the wheelchair. And we both looked at each other and said, who better? Because I was now a person who was living on painkillers, just treating the pain, not knowing where the pain is coming from. So I was relieved to say, at least now I'm going to be treated for something that I know. So by then the reality of cancer was not yet there. So my cousin left me, I was admitted, and then they wanted to start the process of chemotherapy. So when I was left alone now, I started asking myself, what's this monster cancer is it? I started asking the doctor, how many months do I still have? What does it take to go through this cancer? What is it? So the hematologist, my doctor, he came and then he explained to me everything, what the cancer is, what it causes, how am I going to be treated, how they're going to try their best to get me treated. So that's when I started to know that, yeah, this is what is happening. So the moment when he told me that the type of cancer that you have, because it was on stage 3B, it can be treated, but it depends on how your body is going to react, and it depends on how far the cancer had spread. So I was just like, maybe just trying to comfort me. I've never heard of a cancer, that type of cancer, and now you're telling me that the cancer is also curable. So for me, I started thinking of my daughter. I started thinking of my daughter. If I die, I remember even asking the doctor, how many months do I still have here? And then he said, no, you don't have to worry about that. We are going to try our best. We have people who have been healed. And then I was like, how come I've never heard of that? And they said, maybe they haven't shared their stories, or you just haven't come across it. So that's another thing that motivated me to say, I will share, I will let people know that there's this type of cancer and it can be cured, you can live with it. So I started thinking of my daughter, who will take care of her, what will happen to her, and a lot of things. And by then, I just went admire, I just went see. And people who didn't know what was going through around, what I was going through at that moment, I'm sure some of them up until now, maybe they will know. They would ask themselves, why are you so quiet these days? And what is really happening? Sometimes I would even, when someone approaches me, the way I responded, it was a bit harsh. I had anger in me to say, okay, God, why am I going through this? The question was why? Why did you give me a baby if you knew that you were going to take me? If you knew that you're going to separate me from here? This is unfair. But I got a lot of support, I don't want to lie. I got a lot of support from my family, from my friends, from my church members, and above all, I just chose to look at the brighter side. I decided to hang on that small part when the doctor said it can be curable. So I just told myself, if it can be curable, then I just have to be there for myself. I just have to be there for my daughter. But it was hard to believe. It was hard to believe, and I didn't even know how am I going to prepare myself, how am I going to take it, and what's chemotherapy, what is really going on. I didn't know. It was so much confusion. So in the course of my treatments, in the course of my chemotherapy sessions, that's when it started to make sense, seeing other patients also telling me I was like this, but now I'm cured. I was like this, but now I'm better. Then I'm like, okay, so there's hope. So I think that hope is the one that still keeps me going up until now. And overall, I can say that's how I reacted to it. It was never easy, and it took me time for me to share with people what exactly was going on, because even other people, they didn't even know what is lymphoma cancer. So I hated it when I had to explain to them what it is, how I'm going through. People genuinely, they'll be concerned. But I remember sometimes I'll just type one message and then I forward it to everybody. I forward to everyone explaining this is it. I didn't have energy to explain to everybody what I'm going through, what is really happening. It was just one message to everybody. I will respond to it sometimes, I wouldn't even check or what. So yeah, I think in my next video I'll go through how I started my treatment, how I reacted, how it all happened. It doesn't have a formula. I'll just do videos as ideas pops up. So thank you, stay tuned, and please subscribe and leave a comment. If you've got a question, I will definitely respond to it. Okay.